terrified. And that was the smuggler's monstrous body part that had been dealt with by the protagonist. His head was still in the box, surrounded by blood. The protagonist stood from above observing. Karen then asked the protagonist, "Are you not gonna do anything about those guys?" The protagonist replied, "Yeah, I assume the warning was enough." Baron Kingdom's 7-star mage knight, Reynold Crimson. He's been smuggling the blood of demonic beasts from the front lines behind the Yushif Empire's back. The items he smuggled were taken to the Baron Kingdom's Mage Association. Baron Kingdom Mage Association, a place where all the mages insanely obsessed with magic gather. They study the origin and foundation of magic as well as the art of creating new magic. They're an association that aspires to surpass the limits of humanity. Currently, they're making useful artifacts like the Dimension Box, but in the future, they'll do all kinds of insane stuff with the demonic beast blood. I need to put a stop to it now. Then the protagonist left, while Karen teased him, "Are you changing class from assassin to problem solver?" The protagonist, annoyed, requested Karen to shut up. Karen suggested, "I thought you were gonna live for yourself. Isn't this a really selfless thing to do?" The protagonist replied, "I just don't want any more people using the demonic beast blood." At this time, at a residence in the Yushif Empire, Ashel, the protagonist's older brother, stood by the window reading some letters. In the leaf content, there's a mention of Cyan, and Ashel wonders, Cyan Bert went to the front lines with father. The attendant on the bed, upon hearing the name Cyan, curiously asks, "Cyan Bert? Oh, that half-brother of yours?" Ashel responds, "Yes, he's been getting on my nerves. I'll have to go see him." At Cyan's camp, Emily has finished packing their belongings and tidies up neatly. She expresses joy, saying, "Finally, we're out of the front lines. I'm so excited. I bet the academy will be incomparable to this gloomy place." Cyan, however, laments, "Yes, it's the beginning of hell for me." He explains that the academy isn't what Emily expects, but rather a place filled with politics, envy, jealousy, and prioritized networking over education. Emily, still excited, shares, "I heard there are lots of handsome instructors. I'm so excited." Cyan, curious, asks, "Why is she so excited?" Emily continues cheerfully, "Is romance finally coming into my life?" Cyan wonders, "Is she really coming to the academy for me?" After some time traveling from the battlefield back home, Cyan steps down from the horse carriage and admires the surroundings. Suddenly, he encounters his half-brother again, but strangely, Kranz looks terrified upon seeing Cyan. As Cyan attempts a normal greeting, Kranz runs off in fear. Cyan is puzzled. Karen then asks who that was, and Cyan replies, Kranz. The half-brother. Don't mind him. Karen laughs and speculates, "I feel like you're the opposite of your family members." Cyan denies, "Not really. I'm not that far off from Alice." And in his mind, he thinks, the real opposite is someone else. As Cyan enters the family hall, he's surprised to find the servants lined up, respectfully welcoming him back. Cyan wonders why they're suddenly polite, thinking, "He never even glanced at me before, but now he's being all polite. As if father or that bastard is here. A lot has changed over the course of the past year. I guess it's the reward for my hard work." As Cyan is about to open the door to his room, he feels a sinister aura emanating from within. In his mind, he silently acknowledges, "I recognize this aura. The aura that makes me shudder." Cyan then opens the door and affirms to himself, "Yes. Beyond this door is that bastard." Behind the door is the detestable face of Ashel. He grins disgustingly and greets Cyan, "It's been a while, Cyan." Cyan is shocked to encounter this wretch in his own ruin. He reminded himself to stay calm. Seeing Cyan's troubled expression, Ashel immediately asked, "Oh, do you not remember me? I guess that would make sense. The last time I saw you was before I went into the academy." At this moment, Cyan didn't hear anything Ashel said. His face resembled that of a demon, his mind consumed by unrest. He had only one thought. "As it is, I can calm down right now. I'm going to kill." As soon as Cyan drew his demonic sword, Karam appeared, attempting to restrain him. She stood beside him like a shadow, saying, "Get it together if you don't want to die. There's no fun in killing him right now." Cyan was infuriated, but he managed to restrain himself. He bowed before Ashel and said, "I greet my older brother." Ashel asked again, "So you do remember me?" Cyan replied, "How could I forget my own older brother's face?" Ashel then patted Cyan's head and said, "That makes me happy." Though this angered him, Cyan forced himself to remain calm. Ashel smiled and remarked, I was worried that you would have forgotten me. I'm glad you haven't. I heard that your swordsmanship has improved. You'll soon be able to help me on the battlefield. Cyan, with a serious expression, tried to control his response, yes. I, too, am looking forward to that very much. This made Ashel slightly doubtful of Cyan's expression. Then Ashel said, I'm glad. I came here just to see you today. In Cyan's mind, he thought, he's the kind of guy to not even spare a glance at those he deems useless. Knowing that he's here for a reason is helping me calm down, weirdly enough. Cyan then forced a strained smile and said, I missed you too. Meanwhile, in the corridor, Emily struggled with 2 suitcases, looking displeased. She complained, he doesn't even have any baggage. Couldn't he have helped me? As she reached the door to her room, she dropped the suitcases and expressed, I'm white. Then, angrily, she opened the door and scolded Cyan, young master. How could you? However, upon seeing Ashel's presence, she fell silent and stunned. Ashel appeared friendly and smiled, saying, I heard you were close to Cyan, but you are even comfortable with him. Feel free to do your work. Don't mind me. After that, Ashel left. Cyan and Emily bowed to bid him farewell. Emily breathed a sigh of relief and said, Phew, I was so nervous. Then, she displayed an angry expression towards Cyan's direction and said, Young master. You should have told me in advance if a first young master was here. Cyan, feeling uncomfortable, spoke to Emily, Emily, can you leave me alone for a bit? Emily, unaware of his mood, was about to say more but stopped when she met Cyan's intimidating gaze, and he repeated, Don't make me repeat myself. Emily found it difficult to comprehend as this was the first time she had seen Cyan in such an angry state. Cyan was currently in the bathroom, vomiting everything out. His mood seemed somewhat better now. Cyan then asked Karen, Why did you stop me? Karen replied, Shouldn't you be thanking me? Cyan said, It was a good chance for you to take over my body as well. With a wicked smile, Karen replied, Don't be mistaken, I just want your rage to grow. That way, you'll be more delicious. Understanding Karen's intent, Cyan laughed and responded, All right, now that's like you. The scene shifts to Ashel's location. He summons a servant who promptly reports, I tracked down the second young lady as you ordered. Ashel inquires, And where is she? The servant responds, She's in the north, in the territory of the White Elves, Farina. Ashel remarks, Farina, they're known for abhorring outsiders. She sure is skilled with others. Let me know if it looks like she's going to come back. The servant acknowledges the order, saying, Yes, young master. Then, the servant curiously asks, Did something good happen? Ashel questions, Why do you think that? The servant observes, You seem much brighter than usual. Was the meeting with your younger brother amusing? Ashel laughs replies, Amusing? I guess you could put it that way. However, his demeanor quickly turns more ominous as he adds, But you're wrong. I'm in a terrible mood right now. The servant immediately apologizes. Ashel recalls Cyan's expression when they met, reflecting, Those eyes. It's as if he was looking at his lifelong nemesis. Is it my misunderstanding? He then assigns the servant a task, saying, He gets on my nerves. I'll keep an eye on him. Rest assured, I'll assign someone to do that. As the twilight falls, Ashel sits contemplating Cyan's inscrutable expression. He wonders, Cyan Bert. Ashel began to suspect that his younger brother was hiding a secret. Setting aside their story, a carriage was waiting outside the mansion, with Emily standing nearby. Emily, with a displeased expression, addressed Cyan, I'm really disappointed in you, young master. Cyan tried to explain to Emily, It's not my fault I can only take a night escort to the academy. However, Emily grew even angrier, reproaching Cyan, Then you should have at least let me know beforehand. After a heated argument, it was time for Cyan to leave. Cyan waved goodbye to Emily before departing, saying, Anyway, be good, Emily. Emily seemed indifferent but replied, You be good, young master. Cyan, with a mischievous expression, chuckled and signaled for the carriage to depart. Huh? You're really just leaving? Emily asked one last time, her eyes welling up with tears. She urged Cyan, Don't feel down. Even if you get bullied. The image of the carriage departing remained as Emily stood behind, gesturing for Cyan to take care of himself. Cyan felt a bit embarrassed but acknowledged, That's very like her to say. Cyan reminisced about a childhood memory when he was sick. Outside, it was raining heavily, yet Emily carried him in search of help. Cyan recounted, Was it when I was 8? I was so sick with a fever that I was repeatedly losing my consciousness. But no one was there to take care of me. The person who carried me on her back, and sprinted to the nearest doctor. Back then was Emily. At that time, Emily ran through the streets, knocking on doors for assistance. Luckily, a kind old man opened the door for them. Cyan, lying on the sickbed, remembered Emily's attentive care, thinking, if it weren't for her, I probably would have been found dead somewhere in the mansion. Returning to the present, although they appeared to dislike each other outwardly, their relationship was akin to family. With a rare smile on his face, Cyan teased from the carriage, Emily, act right or you're gonna end up dead by my hand. Emily was delighted to hear his playful greeting and pretended not to hear. To Cyan, Emily was more important than a mere servant. After the farewell, Cyan sat quietly in the carriage. His gaze turned pensive. He assessed, anyway, 6 whole intermediate class nights. Just to escort one person? This puzzled Cyan. He sighed, then smiled with hidden meaning, remarking, seems like shit's gonna go down before I even get to the academy. After some time on the road, the sun had set, and the carriage slowed down. 2 knights seemed to signal each other about a plan. Cyan, calmly lying in the carriage, seemed to grasp everything. A knight approached and suggested, young master, I think we should camp here for tonight. Cyan inquired, yeah, where are we? The knight informed him they were in the central city, Saffern, and added, we'll probably arrive in the city in the morning tomorrow. Cyan agreed and instructed, all right, let me know when you're done setting up. The knight acknowledged the order, yes, young master. Cyan observed the surroundings and realized the knight had lied. He thought, there isn't a forest like this near Saffern. It's not somewhere nice and shady either. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Cyan confirmed, it's obvious what they're trying to do. Right after that, a knight spoke to Cyan. Young master, you may come out now. Cyan stepped out from the carriage. He knew everything but tried to feign ignorance and remarked, the air's really refreshing. At this point, all the knights surrounded Cyan. Seeing a stranger among them, Cyan asked for their identity. The man in a brown cloak seemed to grow anxious. The other knights shared the same sentiment, remaining silent. Suddenly, one of them smirked. Cyan noticed. With a menacing gaze, Cyan asked again, I asked a question. The knight, with a smirk on his face and sword in hand, replied, you don't need to know. You're going to die soon anyway. Other knights began to act, one expressing regret, it's a shame that it's come to this. Another added, there are no personal feelings though. I'll be nice enough to make it as painless as possible. You just need to stand there with your eyes closed. Then, the sinister-faced knight lunged towards Cyan, bidding farewell. However, Cyan faced him calmly, and in an instant, the man's body lay in pieces, his head severed by Cyan. After dispatching one knight, Cyan, now with a chilling tone, brandished his sword, bloodlust emanating. He demanded, I asked who the fuck is behind this. The remaining knights, paralyzed by fear, couldn't move. Their faces were filled with terror. Unfazed, Cyan continued, why are you all not moving? Did you not expect this to happen? The man in the brown cloak, horrified, couldn't believe what he witnessed. Then, one knight, summoning courage, charged at Cyan in a desperate attempt to survive. But seconds later, his head was separated from his body. Cyan unleashed a barrage of strikes, each cut aimed directly at the remaining knights, slicing through their bodies. They cried out in agony until their lives ended. One of them, too terrified, attempted to flee but couldn't escape Cyan's swift demise. The man in the brown cloak froze in terror, tears streaming down his face, questioning, this is really an 11-year-old? He reasoned there was a reason he came alive after fighting a dragon. Cyan retrieved his sword, fixing his menacing gaze on the man. As Cyan approached, the man fell to the ground, trembling, and attempted to retreat. With a threatening gaze, Cyan demanded the man to confess everything. Overwhelmed with fear, the man immediately revealed, Mrs. Margaret was behind this. Hearing the answer, Cyan found everything too easy. He seemed somewhat disappointed. Meanwhile, the man continued sobbing and trembling. The horse carriage departed, with the man at the reins and Cyan sitting inside. The man elaborated further, from what I heard, young Master Kranz asked Mrs. Margaret for a favor. We were all assuming that this mission was because of that. Cyan was surprised by the revelation, thinking, it was Kranz. All he could do when he saw me was book it. I'll teach him a good lesson when I see him again. Then the man, trembling, asked, what's going to happen to me now? Are you going to kill me? Cyan replied, you don't look that sad about it. The man expressed resignation, we were the ones that tried to kill you first. I have no right to resent you if you kill me. Cyan disregarded it and instructed, just drive Ben. There's a difference between being useless and having no value in being alive. The man was surprised and thanked Cyan. As they approached a majestic city, Cyan announced, "We're here. Central City, Sufern." Thank you all for watching our video today. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to our channel and turning on notifications so you won't miss any future uploads. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below about what you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.